Welcome back, everyone, to the Tapping into Life podcast as we continue with the topic at hand, trauma and us. So, this is part two, and we're going to continue this episode. Well, this is another episode, technically, but we're going to continue with the topic at hand. All right. So, where we left off, we were explaining how, trauma is often minimized, and now it's to the point to once it's minimized, because we're really not understanding the original definition of trauma. The spiritual, not the spiritual infection that trauma has on us conditions us to behave in ways that are ways that are detrimental, but sometimes what we think is not detrimental, what we think is beneficial, is actually in return detrimental. So what I left off, toxic masculinity, or the definition of manhood or masculinity, how that stemmed from people, or the vast majority of society, uh, not failing to understand that the definition that they were creating had some kind of trauma in it, right? But like I said, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. We're going to continue with the episode, or with the topic. I'm sorry. So we're looking at the effects, once the conditioning and we're takes place. Our humanness is being conditioned by trauma. Our spiritual atmosphere is being conditioned by trauma. Our human nature is being conditioned by trauma. Our soul is being conditioned by trauma. Our mental and our emotions are being conditioned by trauma. All of us is being conditioned by trauma. All parts of us, right? It being conditioned by trauma. Another thing is, and we also don't hit on revenge, but another thing is over helping. That's one where we feel, that it's okay. Like, that's just our human nature, that we just over help. But sometimes we be over helping, and it's like, okay, well, why are you over helping? Like, why are you helping this person constantly? And not saying that there's nothing wrong with helping. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there's a certain type of energy that differs from helping out of a place of love and kindness, right? Some of us over help, and that's why I said over helping, because what we do is, not saying, like I said, not saying it's bad, but trauma has played a part in that. Right? So if we ask little Sally, why are you always helping this person? If we ask Sally that, and Sally says, because when I was in this situation, nobody lifted a finger to give me one half of a penny of help. So y'all get what I'm saying? Because Sally did not receive that help. That is her traumatic experience. That is the effect of trauma. So in return, because she did not get the help that she would have wanted to when she was in that same situation as the person that she's helping, she's over helping, or she's helping a lot. Like I said, nothing's wrong with that, but understand, because Sally may be like, you know what? Wait a minute. Did I hear myself? Because I didn't get that help. And now Sally would, ask herself, am I fully over that? Have I healed from that moment, from that traumatic experience? Have I healed from that? Yeah, I healed from that. But I'm going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to condition myself to be always help people because I didn't get that help in return. Right? Or Sally just helps, everybody else, but don't help herself. Now that is also a result. If why you always helping people? You don't help so many people. You ain't got nothing for yourself, Sally. What's going on? Hey, get yourself together. And Sally says, well, hey, you're right. I mean, I just wanted to help people because I didn't get that help when I was in that situation, in these situations. But dang, come to think about it, I ain't got nothing. I don't have anything else. Right? So, needless to say, once we identify trauma, we realize why we do a lot of things that we do. Not in a, and it doesn't, when I mean a lot of things that we do, why our human nature is the way that it is. Why do we feel that we have to do certain things, to justify something? Why do we feel that we have to do, why we have to act out of vengeance, or why we got to help people to the point that we don't have anything left, or, why we have to believe that it's okay to live with triggers and how it affects us. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. When did we as a society feel that it was okay to normalize triggers or normalize people having triggers? When was it okay to, say, hey, from the moment this traumatic experience happened to the day you die, you're going to have triggers. You're just going to have to live with those triggers. You're going to have to live with them. Sorry. I mean, it's just the way it is. That's just an effect of trauma. Like, you have triggers that you can't get rid of, or you can't, defuse, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, when did we start normalizing us to always have triggers from the time that trauma happened to the day that we die? Let me let y'all in on something, right? As the spiritual life coach and a spiritual healer, right? As someone who has answered the calling that the great I am has assigned me to, or, and walking in my life's purpose, I'm going to let y'all in on something. And that something is you, the individual. You, the individual, do not, under any circumstances, have to live with your triggers from the time that traumatic experience happened to the time you die. I'm going to let y'all in on that. Now, catch that. Now, if y'all writing anything, highlight that. If y'all recording or highlight that. If you're going to post something on social media about what I said, about, today's episodes, post that. Post that. You are not obligated, nor are you required to live with your triggers from the time trauma takes place to the time you die. So whoever, now, I don't mean to take shots at nobody, but whatever pastor said that, whatever parent said that, whatever grandparents said that, whatever member of the church said that, whatever psychiatrist said that, whatever motivational speaker said that, whatever therapist said that is a bunch of baloney. You don't have to walk the next season of your life with these triggers. And as part of this cat, highlight this. Trauma is not a condition, though it conditions the effect of trauma. But trauma itself is not a condition. Trauma is not a disorder. Trauma is the effect of something that you experience that was distressing, or what I say, let me look back to my book. What was distressing or disturbing? It's the effect. Now, can you overcome the effect of something? Yeah, think about it. You scrape your knee. What you do? You clean the wound. I mean, you assess the wound, and you take proper measures to make sure it heals appropriately. It's the same thing with trauma. Trauma may be a scrape. It may be a scar, a deep cut wound. It may be a very, very, very bad gash. However, you can heal from it. Highlight that. Screenshot that. For those who like making the little short reels and share it on your social medias, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the simple fact that we can completely, successfully, and effectively heal from trauma. We just got to put in the work. We're not obligated. And that's not a curse. Oh, this happened. We got to live with it for the rest of our lives. No. Start speaking the healing from trauma in y'all's lives. Start speaking it in your soul. Start speaking it in your mind. Start speaking it in your humanness, in your human nature, in your spiritual atmosphere. Start speaking things into existence as if though it is already there. Because the thing about it is we've normalized that trauma, whoever has experienced trauma, we have to live with that traumatic experience for the rest of our lives. If I can get a physical cut and take the necessary precautions to make sure that it heals properly, I can take trauma, which is a wound, a scrape or a gash, take the necessary precautions and so that I can heal from that properly. Now, yeah, depending on the severity, it may take longer than a scrape. However, we can heal from that. So get it out of our, let's pull that out of our spiritual atmosphere. Let's take that, flip that the bird, and toss it to the dry place. Let's get that thought out of our head, that we got to live with the traumatic experience or the existence of trauma or the spiritual infection because trauma has been present. Let's get that out of our head, people. Let's heal from trauma. It happened. This is how it affected me. I'm learning how it affected me. I'm peeling back these layers. I want to get treated from it because it's an infection and it's causing me to act in a way counter to what my human nature is supposed to compel me to act like. So in return, I'm going to put in that work. I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to take the proper precautions and the necessary measures to make sure I heal from this trauma properly. We can do that. So like I said, if it make y'all as a pastor, as a life coach, as a motivational speaker, as a psychiatrist or therapist, if it makes y'all uncomfortable, hey, that's between you and your business. But as far as the reality of it, you can heal from trauma. Take that in for a moment. Before we move on, let's take that in. I'm gonna get tapping into life is gonna have a mug one day. I'm working on it. I'm just not there yet. But take that in. Take that in. If what I have said in the past 10 minutes, if I want to see shorts, the little short clips or whatever made, I gotta learn how to do that. Bear with me here. Look, I didn't never think that I'll ever be a content creator posting stuff on the internet. However, I'm getting there. But if y'all know how to do these shorts, y'all do these shorts and make multiple shorts with everything I said within the past 10 minutes. Take that in, y'all. Drink that tea. Eat that cake. Get filled inside of your minds with the reality that you can heal from the very thing people said that you would never heal from. Take it in. I don't know about y'all, but don't y'all feel a load that have been lifted off of y'all? A load that's been lifted off of your humanness, a load that has been lifted off of your human nature, off of your spirit, off of your soul, off of your emotions, off of your mind. Maybe it's just me. But what I have said, what the great I am has imparted in me within the past 10 minutes has lifted a burden off of me. I don't know about y'all, but I feel like it just lifted. My goodness. Moving on. Other conditions of trauma, and I'm going to hit on this one too, is that, y'all ready? Y'all ready? Other conditions of trauma or other effects of trauma that conditions the human nature in us. Okay, you ready? Acting the negative stereotypes that people have on us because of a gender, of a sexual orientation, of a race, of an age. Those stereotypes, those negative stereotypes. Oh, he's this race, so this is the limitations, or this is the stuff that he's going to do bad. Oh, she's this age, or she's this size, so she's a bigger size. She can't hit no backflip. She can't win no gold medal from the Olympics because, jumping on that balance beam or whatever you pronounce it. negative stereotypes. When we experience trauma and it gets to us to a certain point, we're conditioning our human nature to carry out these negative stereotypes. Negative stereotypes that are on certain gender or all genders. Negative stereotypes are on certain identities, how sexual orientations, skin color or complexions, races or religions. We out here acting these negative stereotypes, not knowing we say, oh, because that's just me. Yeah, that's you. That's you being infected by trauma. You have a spiritual infection, sugars, and you need to detach yourself from those, from that trauma that has embedded itself in your spiritual DNA, that is impacting or affecting your immune system, that is your soul, so that your soul can stop projecting the negative stereotypes, because it has been conditioned by your human nature and by what your human nature put in it, and how your human nature has weakened it. And it's causing you to act these negative stereotypes. Now, I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole about these negative stereotypes. I'm not, because some people think that these negative stereotypes are okay. But yeah, moving right along. Other conditions: being uncomfortable when receiving praise. There are some people out here, when it comes to receiving praise, they clamp up, they tense up. They're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what do I do next? What do I do next? The spotlight is on them for something good. We're praising you for something that you did positive, something that you did great and amazing. And you clam up or run out the way of the spotlight. That's an effect of trauma. That's an effect of trauma. Yeah. Because I'm going to tell you now. A lot of people are like that. And one of those lot of people are me. I was once like that. Now people say that, Matthew, you telling a damn lie. You are lying out the crack of your rump. You are a lying son of a gun. I'm going to let y'all know. Though the social butterfly that I am was for a small group of people who I was close to, right? It was a small group of people that I was close to. Other than that, I really wasn't that type of person who wanted to be in a damn spotlight. Like, that just wasn't me. And here's why. Because I had trauma that when I wanted to, or I tried to, I was rejected, bullied, talked about. Or people scolded me or talked to me in a condescending manner, or I felt attacked. Now, this is my story. This is my experience. This is me being transparent to you. But that's what it was. So because that was traumatic for me, I avoided the spotlight. I tried my best to avoid the spotlight. And it ain't always work, but I tried my best to avoid the spotlight. And some of my greatest accomplishments thus far in my life, most of my greatest accomplishments were done not being in the spotlight. Out of the spotlight, I was kicking butt and taking names. I was getting it done. I was accomplishing a lot. I was doing a lot of stuff. Didn't know I had it in me. But the moment someone was so nice enough, or people were so nice enough to give me praise so loud to the point that everybody else was looking, I clammed up. I'm like, wait, what is the light birds? Ah! I clammed up. I didn't know what to do. What the hell? What are we doing? I'm not used to this. Okay, hey, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Away from the spotlight. You know? Away from the spotlight. Yes, I was one of them people. But when I looked at it, and I understand what was going on, I understood that was the result of trauma that was not healed, that I did not heal from that trauma. Because I did not heal from that trauma, something that was supposed to be so good, I felt as if though it was uncomfortable. Right? So there's a lot of, I wrote down so many things as far as being conditioned, how trauma negatively conditions us, we're not going to go down all of that. We're going to move right along. But so, like I told y'all earlier, when I was writing out the podcast and the notes, when I was writing out this episode, I was so amazed about what I knew and didn't know I knew it. Like, I wasn't Googling a lot of stuff. Like, I was Googling like 2% of the stuff. Like, when I started writing, it came out, right? It came out, and I was so shocked because I did not know that I knew so much. Let me tell y'all something. Doubt, self-doubt is a result of trauma. And I didn't say I was doubting myself. I said I didn't know it. So in a way, yeah, I was kind of doubting myself. I'm like, let's keep it real. I ain't gonna front. And I wasn't doing that intentionally. But there was some doubt. Like, I need to make sure I get it right. I don't, because what I think I know, and it ain't right. So I need to make sure. But I realized that a lot, this stuff was spot on. So, and like I told y'all earlier, I ran across this little course that you take or whatever. And before I listened to the people in the course, I felt like something was missing. Like I said, it's that ingredient that's missing. But once you realize what that ingredient is, you got a perfect dish. So I was listening to this course. Actually, I was listening to this course last night because something told me, like, something ain't right. My headband ain't right, but something ain't right. Something missing, right? Something missing. So I listened to these people, these two gentlemen. Both of them were out of Australia, but I listened to them, and they are life coaches, but they specialize in just trauma alone. That's their thing, right? And it was all this knowledge and stuff like that. They went on to the point I did not realize it's about 8 to 10 different kinds of trauma. And I know some of y'all are like, what? I thought trauma was just general trauma. No, it's about 8 to 10 of them. And y'all got the and y'all spare time, y'all look that up if y'all interested. Y'all go and look up the different types of trauma. I did not know it was so many different types of trauma, right? But I'm 100% positive that what I've explained between the first part of the episode, from part 1 of the episode to part 2 as of right now, I'm pretty sure I explained every definition of every form of trauma and gave examples. It's about 8 to 10. And that amazed me. But before we go, I wanted to spend the last moments of this particular, of part 2 of the episode, going over some things, and I wanted to bring this to you because this is now going to make sense, right? This is going to make sense. So if some of us are getting that, coming across that bump in the road, or we stuck in this journey and healing through our trauma, listen closely. Okay, listen closely. One's humanness and one's spiritual atmosphere adapts to trauma. We've made that perfectly clear that we know that. All right. We made that perfectly clear. Trauma is a part of a human experience. No one goes through life without experiencing trauma. Now, that was the last thing I would have thought was true. But if you look at it, you could have had that perfect life, but what was the story of your parents? And your parents are conditioning you, even if it's in a positive manner, your parents are conditioning you to be the best and successful and most successful that you can be by way of their traumatic experiences and how they heal from it and how it affected them. Right? So regardless of how it was, good or bad, you have experienced trauma. Even that silent trauma that we did not know about. Right? Trauma is not a disorder. I'm going to need people, when it comes down to post-traumatic stress disorder, trauma is not a disorder. Boo-boo. It's not a disorder. It's not a disorder. Mental illness is not a disorder. Mental illness is a condition that that results from the spiritual infection or the result of trauma not being identified, acknowledged, or dealt with, or healed from. Right? Highlight that. We got to understand that mental illness is not a disorder. Right? Post-traumatic stress disorder is not a disorder. It's a condition. Sorry to, well, I'm not sorry, but, no disrespect to the psychologists that went to school for all of these years for them to really think that that's a disorder. No. See, that's the thing. We are speaking things into existence that we don't need to be speaking into existence. Right? And I'm not saying that softens the blow as somebody is going through that. I'm stating facts. If mental illness stems from trauma, and by definition of how we went over that we can heal from trauma, we can also heal from the effects of trauma. So if the effect is mental illness or post-traumatic stress disorder or whatever, then by definition, by original definition, we can heal from that. And we don't have to take, never mind. We can heal. We can spiritually heal from it. And we all know, whether we want to accept it or not, we all know. Once we heal spiritually, everything physically, okay. All right. Need I say more? We're going to move on. We're going to move on. Someone who is projecting trauma or the results by way of trauma, don't ever ask what's wrong with somebody. Right? That's the worst thing that we can do is ask what's wrong with someone. What's wrong with you? That's the worst thing that we could ask. Because when we ask what's wrong with you, we're automatically acknowledging your trauma as a disorder and not a condition. We're automatically saying that it can't be healed when it can be healed. We can heal from it. We got to start choosing choosing our words as it pertains to talking to people. True story. I was in a couples therapy session, right? And I was explaining some stuff, we was explaining some stuff. Nothing is bad, nothing bad in our marriage, but it was very informative to know what to do and what not to do so a problem would not come. You see what I'm saying? And so one thing that the therapist told me, don't ever say, calm down. Don't ever say calm down. She said, I don't even care if you say it as nice as you can. Okay, I'm going to need you to calm down, relax, calm down. You should not say calm down. Blew my mind hearing that. Because I'm like, now wait a minute, I want them to calm down. And she's like, we can't say calm down, because what that does is it's minimizing how one person is feeling from that moment that's traumatic or distressing. And I'm like, wow, I would have never known that. The last thing I would have thought was that would be it. Just saying. But it's true. It's true. And I'm like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. So we got to choose our words, and not because, people are sensitive. No, it's because we got to respect that just because, different people are impacted by different traumas. That's what we got at the end of the day, right? Trauma can alter your will to survive and produce what is called survival adaptations due to environmental circumstances. Survival adaptations. You are adapting to prevent something from happening or coping because of the traumatic experience. Coping mechanisms. That is a survival adaptation stemming from trauma. Trauma causes the nervous system to store emotions in the mind. So you mean to tell me that we out here analyzing trauma as something that just happens in the physical body when by definition, and we're studying it, trauma can trauma can cause the nervous system. That nervous system. How did the nervous system get in it? The nervous system stores emotions in the brain, right, or in our mind. Wow. All right. Like I said, mind blown. This creates painful narratives. All right. So this creates that self-doubt lingo that people say. They got their heart broken. That's their trauma. They got their heart broken, right? They get their heart broken. I ain't never gonna meet nobody and be happy. I ain't never gonna get a job. I ain't never gonna meet my goals. I ain't never gonna achieve my dreams. People are always gonna have something negative to say about me. That is painful narratives. That is something that you are thinking by way of your emotions, by way of trauma. And we all know when we speak negative things into the spiritual atmosphere, what happens? They begin to manifest. They begin to come to pass. And the last thing, before we get out of here, trauma causes us to orphan or abandon parts of it or parts of its existence. Let me explain that to y'all. Get a good example. There's some of us who are Christians and we go to church, right? We go to church. And whatever the situation is, some words had been said by people that we think that we can look up to as Christians and that would be an example to us as Christians. We feel judged, we feel attacked, we feel abandoned, we feel disrespected, but y'all supposed to be Christian. That hurts. That hurts my feelings. So what I do is, that me being hurt, that's trauma. That's an effect of an experience. I experienced the church hurt or the hurt from people of the church. So what I do is I leave the church. That's me orphaning the existence of that effect. That's trauma. That was disturbing or distressing. So in return, I'm weary. I am weary of who I call my pastor. I am weary. I am cautious of who I call my pastor, what church I call my church home, what church I go to for revival. I got to know what their beliefs are because I ain't got time for nobody, that painful narrative that somebody gonna say something out the way because this is how I live my life as a Christian and they may not agree with it. They gonna say something slick. If they say something slick, then that's gonna hurt my feelings and I ain't got time for it. And I wouldn't call it I wouldn't say one is paranoid, but you're just extremely cautious. That's what happens when trauma is orphaned, when it's abandoned, when we detach. That's also a survival adaptation to where we detach ourselves from the trauma, not realizing that the effects is still that the effects is still affecting us. and in return still spiritually infecting us. Spiritual language is saying I'm not equipped to handle that or deal with that at this point in my life or in this season. So in return, what I'm going to do is I'm going to disassociate myself from that or any situation that's similar to that traumatic experience. Yeah. So how do you deal with trauma? Right? How do you deal with trauma? We about to leave. But how do you deal with trauma? Here's how you deal with trauma. You assess the existence of it. Acknowledge that it's there. Assess the severity of it. Unpeel those layers and find out why it is being allowed to infect your spirit and taint your humanness and compel your human nature to act out and infecting or compromising your soul or your spiritual body's immune system. And if you need to have a conversation with people, y'all have a conversation with people. We can't, that's the problem. This is why spiritual infections are the way that they are, because we harbor feelings, we harbor emotions, we orphan our trauma. We detach ourselves from our trauma. Instead of saying mommy, daddy, brother, sister, friend, coworker, husband, wife, kids, y'all hurt my feelings when y'all said this. Instead of talking to a therapist, to a life coach, to a pastor or minister or whomever, someone that you can trust and keep things confidential, instead of talking to them saying, hey, I'm a little, this trauma getting to me because, you know, my mom died, or I'm going through this divorce, or, you know, my kids got so mad at me, my child got so mad at me, he said he hate me. That's bothering me. But we harbor that. And what we do, we take our rug, take our little brush, and we sweep it right under that rug. And then when we trip over that lump of stuff that shouldn't be under that rug, we trip over it and we hurt ourselves even more. Then we looking at ourselves like, why you hurt? People, you know, everybody else looking at us like, why you hurt? Deal with it. Talk it out. Talk it out. I have talked my thoughts out, things that were on my mind heavy. I have talked it out to certain people. And once I talked it out, I have literally spoken the answer to the question that is keeping me at a pause. Talk it out. Assess it. Once you assess it and know what's going on and how it's impacting you, and peel back those layers, and you identify the origin of it, tackle the origin. If that means healing, heal. Take that time to heal. Take that time to grieve. If you hurt that, you know, if you bother that somebody hurt your feelings, have a conversation with them. Don't walk up to them being disrespectful and punch them in the face. You talk to them like a grown man or a grown woman. You have that conversation. And if you can't get that closure, understand this. Like, you will not always resolve an issue with closure. That will not always be the end result. Sometimes the end result is to understand that it bothered you and to know where it came from and then heal. Yeah. So once we do these things, we'll get a better understanding and we would heal as it pertains to our individual selves. So you can't heal like I can heal, and I can't heal like you can heal. I can't heal and get over some things just like my husband can't, I can't heal like he can heal over those same things. I can't do that. Somebody hurt his feelings, he might handle it differently. Me, you hurt my feelings to a certain extent, I might catch a case. I don't know. It depends on how I feel and what day of the week it is. But heal as it pertains to you. And if you need help, always open up your mouth and have a conversation with the proper people. Because trauma is putting a pause on us tapping into our understanding who we are. Trauma is putting a pause on us being able to understand and utilize and tap into the spiritual powers that we have, the spiritual gifts that we have. That's the iniquity right there. I ain't gonna keep y'all long. I ain't gonna keep y'all no more. I ain't gonna keep y'all any longer. Thank you, everybody, for tapping into a 2-part episode of the Tapping Into Life podcast. I have talked for 2 hours. I probably won't talk no more for the rest of the night. But then again, I'm probably lying. But anyway, always remember to continue the journey into tapping into your greatness and who you are. Always put some time and effort into making you great. Until next week, everybody have a wonderful week. I'm speaking a wonderful week in the lives of each and every one of you. I'm speaking it into existence, and you need to do it too. Until next week, take care, be blessed, and I'll see you soon.